What's going on, guys? Super excited today to do another install video, show you guys our new XP1000 two-seat doors. So I got everything laid out in front of me. Let's get right into it. First things first, when you guys open your box, make sure you get everything laid out. Get all your hardware and all the pieces separated. That way it makes the install very easy. Two tools I recommend: pry bar and a soft mallet. Other than that, basic wrench set and you should be fine. We're gonna grab our hinges and we're gonna go install them on the car. So we've removed the door already and we're gonna install this hinge, but before we do, a trick to make it easier is I usually put a bolt on the bottom and then we clamp this shut, which lets us slide this over rather than fighting it to get in. So I'm gonna do that now. So for this part, we got to come in at an angle and down. So what I'm going to do is tap it with a rubber mallet, and once it's in, I'm going to remove the bolt. Okay. So now that the hinge is over, I can get a rubber mallet, tap it in. It helps to lift this up to give it a little bit more clearance. Then get our pry bar to straighten it in. So now we're going to put in the included hardware. Pry bar helps get everything in line, as well as the included nuts. And then we're going to grab the bottom set screw and jam nut and install that here. This jam nut, when you install it, the final torque down, make sure you put Loctite on it. So now we're going to install the door bumper bracket. This also includes a light mount. This bracket is low profile, so if you're not running a light mount, it still looks pretty good. So we have to remove the factory bolts. So now we're going to install the door bumper bracket. This also includes a light mount. This bracket is low profile, so if you're not running a light mount, it still looks pretty good. So we have to remove the factory bolts. For the bumper bracket, you're going to install this included bumper, as well as the nylon nut. So now we're going to grab our included bolt. This side is a button head. These are stronger than grade 8, but it's a button head to clear. That way the door can come up and hit right on the frame. Makes it a lot stronger. Grab our nut, put it in the back, get that tightened down. Now that we have the hinge on and the bumper bracket on, we can move on to the gas strap bracket. So I'm going to grab this and put it on the outer hole. It's easier to put this on the table rather than on the car, just because it's easier to access here. And we're going to tighten that down. So now we can install it on the car. As you can tell, this elbow is in the back facing out, and this bracket goes on this tab here from the outside in, like that. Then we're going to put the nut on it. So now we're going to install the rubber bumper on the bottom. Trick I do is you put it in sideways and twist, should pop right in. Now we're gonna put the door handle and the latch together. You're gonna grab your LSK door handle, the latch, 1/4-inch bolts that are included, the latch spacer, as well as the tension spring. So this latch spacer is actually very important because if you mount this without it, what it's gonna do is it's gonna crush this outer portion and it's gonna actually lock your latch to where it can't open anymore. So make sure, it's very important that you put this spacer on there. That way your latch can open and close freely. Now we're gonna install a LSK handle. If you notice, this handle has a notch in the bottom. That's specifically to clear this spring. So that spring is gonna go on the back side. So what I'm gonna do is put the bolt on in the front. Now we're gonna install the spring. Remember, it's gonna be the latch, the handle in the back. We're gonna put the spring on the hook and mount it on that bolt there. So probably the most important part, we're gonna add some grease at the tip. You can use whatever lubricant you want, but this just keeps the service life up, keeps it from wearing itself out because it is a metal on metal bung. You probably wanna put some grease in here as well, or whatever lubricant you wanna use. I'm just using grease, as well as on the bolt shaft. Now we're gonna go ahead and put the door on. This just slides in with the shoulder bolt from the top. We can get the washer and the nut and put that on the bottom. This hinge we could fully tighten down because we're gonna want it tight to make the proper adjustment. If you have it loose, it hangs a little bit lower than where it's gonna be at the final point. We just put the door on, you can see it's a little low. Now we're gonna go ahead and adjust the set screw to raise that up. Remember, these bolts are loose, so the more I tighten this up, the more it's gonna raise the door. So crank that down, you can see on that end, it's gonna raise the door. So I would line it up to where it touches, because when we put the gas strut on, it's gonna go a little bit higher. So right about there. So some of these razors come with this plastic. I'm gonna go ahead and remove it because it does space out the latch further than we want. I'm also gonna leave this loose so that I can align it where it's supposed to go with the door in place. Now that we have the factory bracket loose and we have the latch loose, what I'm gonna do is apply some pressure on the door, push in the latch where I want it, and then I'm gonna snug everything down. That way it self-centers itself. Carefully remove it, and then I'll fully tighten it. Alright, now that we have all the adjustments done, we can go ahead and put the panel on. Now I'm going to put on the vent cover panel. I added a little bit of vinyl. I'm doing it white because we're doing black on white, but you could color match this piece because this is going to be basically what you see from the outside. We're going to grab our 1032 button heads. Those go from the inside out. Get this mounted. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the rear scoop panel and we're going to put on these 3 bolts. If you have a Turbo S, you're going to leave this one loose because that's where the speaker panel is going to mount to. But this doesn't have the speaker included, so we're going to put all 3 in. So the next thing I'm going to do is add the overlay panel, but it's important to note that this is just snugged down. It's left a little bit loose, that way we can align all the holes together on the door. This panel, what we're going to do is we're going to use these 2 bolts and this one. The rest we're going to leave open because that mounts to the actual frame. This just allows us to move everything as one piece, that way we're not fighting it on the car. I'm going to make a background for this LSK logo. Again, this is vinyl that you can color match to your car. This stuff you can find at Target, Walmart. Just gives it a lot more contrast, a lot more pop. Super easy to do. So I'm just going to grab this little strip of vinyl, Center it between the holes. Look. Okay. So I'm just gonna grab this little piece of vinyl, center it on the holes, and then we'll mount our LSK logo above that, and it'll give it a nice good contrast. So now is probably the most important part. If you don't do this, your door will vibrate on the frame. So we included with every kit is the 16th inch foam. I marked off where the end of this plate is so I can get all the way to the very end, that way it doesn't vibrate. So we're gonna go on the center of the tube all the way down to the end. This goes all the way to the very end of this bung. The panel does touch a little bit higher, so I'm just gonna put like a little inch on that corner to cover that. And then we'll do the same for the rest of the frame here. So another important part, this bracket does touch the panel. So either put it on the panel, it's easier to put it on this bracket, but put a little piece of foam strip right on there. Now we can go ahead and set the panel on the frame. So last thing to do is mount the gas strut to the actual frame. If you notice, there's a couple adjustments here. You can put it closer or put it back further. If you want it a little bit closer, if you're on the final bolt, you can also push it one back over here. It's rare, but depending on your plastics and your clearances, you might want to push that forward. I recommend starting on the furthest out bolt, that way you have more clearance. And I'm just going to put it right here. So the final thing to do is check this height, make sure it's floating just over the bumper bracket, and then we're gonna tighten this down for the final time. So that wraps up our XP1000 two-door install video. Again, this also works on the Turbo S. As you guys saw, we have our integrated speaker mounts. I know you guys are gonna love them. We're really excited to get them out to you. Let us know what you think. Leave some comments down below. Follow us on Instagram and have a wonderful day.